Welcome to Wildcat Watch Live. I'm Pat Ralph.
I'm Lauren Dugan.
I'm Matt McCarthy.
And I'm Jackie and Sarah. So today's Halloween. I'm dressing up. I hope you guys all are. What are you guys being?
I think I'm going to be a lifeguard today.
I'm going to show some school spirit and be a Wildcat.
Along those same lines, I'm actually going to be a Villanova football player. And speaking of football, Jackie, how did our guys do at homecoming?
Well, I'll tell you about that right now. This past Saturday, Villanova took on the Towson Tigers in its annual homecoming football game. Despite the Wildcats coming up short in a 49-35 loss, redshirt freshman quarterback John Robertson and sophomore running back Kevin Monungai both had great games. Robertson threw a season-high 4 touchdown passes, and Monungai reached 1,000 career rushing yards during the game. Monungai also scored the first 2 touchdown passes in the opening quarter, including a 33-yard pass from Robertson less than 3 minutes into the game. However, the Tigers were able to recover in less than 2 minutes, responding by scoring 28 points in a span of less than 11 minutes. The Wildcats were able to tie Towson once late in the second quarter and again early in the third quarter to make it 35-35. However, Towson's next 2 possessions ended up with a Villanova defeat to the Tigers. You'll get them next time, boys. On Saturday afternoon, Villanova volleyball team took on the Marquette Golden Eagles. Freshman outer hitter Lauren Carpenter had 5 of her team-high 10 kills in the third set. However, the match concluded with a 3-0 loss to the Marquette at the Jake Nevin Fieldhouse. The set scores were 25-13, 25-16, and 25-23 in favor of the Golden Eagles. The Golden Eagles won 3 of the final 4 points in a seesaw third set to finish out on the match. The Wildcats were overwhelmed in the first 2 sets, yet managed to battle it out until the very last point in the third frame. This included 13 tie scores and 6 lead changes. The score was never more than a 2-point margin in the entire set. Unfortunately, Marquette succeeded in scoring back-to-back points to take the lead for good. Good luck next time, girls. Now here's Lauren with soccer.
Thanks, Jackie. The men's soccer team scored a key 4-0 victory over Pitt last Saturday at the West Campus Soccer Complex. The match held high stakes for Nova, as a win would secure their spot in the Big East Championship chase, and anything less would result in the end of the season. But under the pressure and the emotions of senior day, the boys rose to the occasion with a huge Wildcat win. In the first half, senior Ryan Whalen's perfect positioning resulted in a goal as he tapped the ball in from his mark on the right post. Ending the first half 1-0, Coach Carlin admitted they were not quite comfortable with that lead. It was during the halftime huddle that the Wildcats decided they didn't want to just stumble into the championship chase, but they really wanted to make an entrance. That statement came loud and clear as Nova blasted 3 more goals in the final 8 minutes of the match. Senior Ryan Quain, sophomore Hayden Haar, and junior Itamwa Adul, with his first career goal, finished the team efforts by making that net swish. Villanova ended their regular season with an 11-5-2 overall record, entering the postseason with 11 points and a 4th seed in the first round of the Big East Championship that starts today. Good luck, boys. The women's season didn't end in such a bang as they fell to DePaul last Thursday on the West Campus Soccer Complex with a 3-0 loss in the first round of the Big East Championship. The defeat marked the Blue Demons' first ever victory over the Lady Wildcats. As lessons can always be learned, this game proves that you can't lose composure on the field for a moment. DePaul's 3 second-half goals were put away in the span of only 10 minutes. The third and final heartbreaking goal was a penalty kick resulted from an in-the-box tackle in the 79th minute of the game. Nonetheless, the game marked the first postseason appearance from Villanova since the 2009 season. The Wildcats finished with a 7-9-3 overall record, with the ladies' heads high. Now let's switch over to Matt for some tennis news.
3 members of the Villanova men's tennis team competed last weekend in the ITA Atlantic Regional Championship, which was hosted at the Sheridan Snyder Tennis Center at the University of Virginia. Junior Thomas O'Brien and freshman Chris Seitz were each automatic qualifiers for the main singles draws in the tournament, while sophomore Tim Abriciamento competed in the qualifying rounds. In that qualifying round, Abriciamento took on Eric Ward of Morgan State. Abriciamento easily took it to Ward in straight sets, 6-3 and 6-2, and advanced to the second round of qualifying to face Big East rival St. Joe's own Tommy Gates. With a bid to the main draw on the line, Gates was able to squeak out a victory against Abriciamento in straight sets 6-4 and 7-6. This left O'Brien and Seats as the only Wildcats in the main draw of the regional tournament. O'Brien took on George Washington's own Ulrich Thompson in the round of 128 and was defeated in straight sets 6-3 and 6-4. Seats squared off against Sebastian Fawcett of Richmond and was defeated 6-3, 6-3. Seats and O'Brien would have their chance to rebound from these early round upsets in the doubles main draw. Villanova's duo took on the team of Max Wolowski and Klaus Grausen of VCU. Unfortunately, O'Brien and Seats would be defeated by a score of 8-2. Both the men's and women's cross-country teams competed at the Big East Championships this past weekend. Villanova came in fifth with a team score of 114 points in the championships on Friday afternoon. Sophomore Samuel McKente led the Wildcats with a 17th place finish overall. The top 5 runners for Villanova were separated by just 21 seconds at the finish line and placed between 17th and 31st individually. McKenzie registered a time of 25:04 on the 8,000 meter course. He and senior Matthew Mildenhall recorded top 20 finishes in a field of 114 runners. Mildenhall had a finishing time of 25:06 in 19th place. The rest of the top 4 included freshman Rob Denault, Jordy Williams, and Alex Tully. The women's cross-country team finished 4th in the Big East Championships with a total of 83 points. 3 Villanova runners earned all Big East honors by finishing in the top 15. The top story of the weekend came from Villanova's own Elmi Lipari, who won individual Big East Championship after winning the race with a time of 20:45 on the 6,000 meter course. The race certainly came down to the wire in the final 100 meters, where Lipari seemed to kick it into a new gear and sprinted past Georgetown's Sarah Collins. She won the race by a close margin of 0.79 seconds. Earning all Big East honors with Lipari were junior Nikki Akande and Summer Cook, who finished 3rd and 14th respectively. Lipari's title marks the 4th consecutive individual Big East championship won by a Wildcat and gave head coach Gina Procaccio her 6th individual Big East champion in cross country. Now let's take it over to Pat, who has field hockey. Pat?
Thanks, Matt. Finishing up their fall season this past weekend, the women's rowing team competed locally at the Head of the Schuylkill Regatta in Philadelphia. The Wildcats raced 8 boats in 6 different events at the regatta, including a first-place finish in the women's Frosh 4 event, with a time of 16:49.8 in the race and a 6th-place finish in the women's Frosh 8 event. The Wildcats will kick off their spring season in March. This past Saturday at the Pavilion Pool, the men's and women's swimming and diving team went 1-2 in their first tri-meet of the season against both James Madison and West Virginia. The women started the day off well by swimming past the Dukes of James Madison by a score of 159.5 to 139.5, but would fall to West Virginia by a score of 171 to 128. Freshman Kalisa Kolonis led the way for the Wildcats as she took first in both the 50-meter and 100-meter freestyle and anchored a victory in the 200-meter freestyle relay. As for the men, they only faced the Mountaineers in the meet, but lost by a score of 174 to 113. First place finishes for the Wildcats include senior Russell Paulson in the 500-yard freestyle, junior Ben Smith in the 100-yard butterfly, and sophomore Tony Sapala in the 200 IM. The Wildcats also took first in the 200-yard freestyle in the meet. Next up for the Wildcats is the Rutgers Invitational, where they will face some of their best Big East competition. In their final home game of the season this past Friday, the field hockey team took down the Hoyas of Georgetown by a score of 5-3 to earn their 2nd victory of the season in Big East play. Sophomore forward Leah High led the way at Wildcats with 4 of the 5 goals in the match to improve the Cats to 7-12 on the season. Along with a strong performance from High, the attack line duo of freshman Kayla Kenny and sophomore Jessica Swoboda combined for 17 of the Wildcats' points in the contest. High finished with 9 points in the match, which was a single-game career high for the forward. Kenny, who had the other goal in the contest, had 3 assists along with Swoboda on the evening. The Wildcats were able to keep the Hoyas' offense in check as they outshot their Big East foes 18-8 in the game. Next up for the field hockey squad is the Big East Championship, as the Wildcats look to bring home the conference title this weekend to Louisville, Kentucky. Now here's Billy with the upcoming games.
Thanks, Pat. Halloween weekend has a ton of action-packed games for Villanova. Starting off tomorrow, the women's soccer team plays DePaul University in the first round of the Big East tournament. The girls are playing at 2 p.m. here on West Campus, so be ready to cheer on Nova sporting all white in the stands because it's gonna be a whiteout. The women's volleyball team goes on the road for 2 away matches against Louisville and Cincinnati. Nova will play at Louisville this Friday and travel up to Ohio to match up against the Bearcats on Sunday. And finally, the men's basketball team matches up against Carleton University at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. This is the first game of the season and can be seen at our very own pavilion. Personally, I cannot wait to see this matchup. Coach Wright did a phenomenal job rallying the troops last Friday at Hoops Mania. And with all due respect, the Ravens of Carleton University should be shaking in their boots. I think this game is going to be wrapped up at around halftime from Villanova. With upcoming games, I'm Billy McGroarty. Back over to you, Pat.
Thanks, Billy. For me, Lauren, Matt, and Jackie, thanks for tuning in. And remember, stay Wildcats.